Diggins, the positivity forever emanates from her, and the same again today. She did fall. I looked at the fall again. Davos, she got quite a smack on the ground as she went down.
She certainly did. So she said that she'd gone over a road crossing, so they put slightly different snow down, and that just made the skis come to an absolute dead stop. But she went down head over heels. It was pretty. I think she was able to laugh about it after, but at the time it was a steep, heavy fall, and I think it certainly threw her off her stride for the first half of that race.
It certainly did. So final preparations. It was heavy snow only some 35 minutes ago. It seems to be turning to almost rain at the moment as we take a look down through the field. 20 there with Kiloinen. She's well experienced in the Tour de Ski for Finland. Fusnes, Yanatova still there, the 21-year-old from the Czech Republic. More a sprinter, but proving herself very handy in all disciplines this season. So 33 still standing. A week ago, 70 started in Toblach on day one. A lot of them were sprinters to pick up points on the way and have since then pulled out. Carlson, for me, looking very, very focused. She wants to put her position today so much higher. Standing 5th overall in the Tour de Ski. So the final few seconds before they break free. 33 athletes about to get underway here in Val Di Fiemme. Awful conditions for a 15-kilometre classic style in Val Di Fiemme. It's the second last day of the Tour de Ski, and Jessie Diggins stands tall at the top of the field by some 44 seconds. Under starters' orders. It's a very, very long hold, but they're off. As soon as the race starts, Posey, you can begin to relax. The nerves beforehand in terms of finding the perfect skis, they've all struggled. We saw that in Davos as well. That's behind them now, and it's all about the race bib, the track ahead of you.
It's absolutely all just about focusing on this next 15 kilometres. You've got to put those worries out of your mind of, have I picked the right skis, do I have the right wax? You just have to go for it. So really interesting to see what tactics different people go for. I think we're going to see some of those more experienced distance skiers, the good classic skiers as well, Niskanen up in front there. I think we're going to see them pushing the pace a little bit today, just thinking about those overall standings and trying to make up some time on Diggins.
Be interesting to see this first of the steep climbs. This is very early on. The Valena uphill, as it's called, only up towards the bridge where you see the people having a little view down. You spin round to the right and then a fast descent. I suppose this profile is very much roller coaster. You do this quite steep climb at 12-13%. You spin around, a little bit of flat, then a very fast descent. Then you're up the steepest of climbs at 21%. Absolutely roller coaster of a race.
Yeah, roller coaster is a great name to describe it. I think it's a really fun course, as you say. It's not much about the flats here. It is you're up and then you're down. The downhills are quite fast. A lot of them have sort of big swooping corners at the end, so you've got to be quite good on your skis to get around those corners at high speed. But it's really entertaining.
Now I'm just thinking, Posey, as we saw in Davos, when this amount of snow, very wet snow, is falling, it really is not an advantage to go up the front. We saw many of the athletes who went up the front in Davos faded later in the race. But I suppose if you're Niskanen, you want to try and haul time back, so she's having to take the pain up the front at the moment.
Yeah, I think, yes, it's really difficult to decide what to do on days like this, and I think that it's snowing pretty heavily. It's not quite as bad as it was in Davos when, we could just see they're almost wading through about 6-10 inches of snow at some points in time. But these are certainly not easy conditions, and it is, it's a really hard decision. What do we want to do here? Because you will use a lot of energy if you're leading out in front. So it'd be interesting to see if a couple of people choose to take it on together. We saw Niskanen and Brennan actually working quite well together 2 days ago in Davos, willing to sort of share the lead. Maybe a little bit of that, or our team order is going to start to come into it. Will the US team be thinking about getting Diggins that win?
I like the way that Jessie Diggins is not restless going to the front. I think she's racing very clever today. She's allowing Svan, I think it's Svan, and Niskanen at the front, the third athlete, Carlson, at the front.
Yeah, Diggins today, she has to play it smart. She's not going to gain anything by working out front and being the hardest worker there today. She loves to work hard. We know that she likes to be in front, but it's just not the right tactic. She needs to stay in the pack, conserve energy, try and not drop too much time, but leave something in the tank for tomorrow.
Very much. Jessie Diggins trapped in the pack there, so she just has to be comfortable. Bib 5 just stepping in front of her. That's Katarina Hennig, the darker suit. And interestingly, that's Victoria Carl making a statement early and pushing from 10th up to this front line at the moment.
Yeah, Carl is one of the ones who really suffered 2 days ago. I think it was such a challenging day all round, and to get today again, we'll start to get a feel of who's got the skis right, but so tricky. And the Germans in particular, the German woman just did not have the skis. You could see Hennig and Carl at times having to stop at the top of the hills and scrape snow off the bottom of their skis before they could even move on the downhills. And it was tricky for everyone, but Carl, I think in particular, had some really bad skis, and just such a shame for those that her standings in the overall. It really put paid to any chance of ending up on the podium.
Yeah, real shame. But so of course, Carl at the front now. I did see Samantha Smith, the 18-year-old American who has impressed us all, of course, over the last 5 days of racing. I didn't think her grip wax was functioning very well. I didn't manage to see Jessie Diggins, who's still up in the front segment, in the middle of the pack there, third back, behind Bib 3. Niskanen still comfortable. Can't be fast at the front there, so that's why the pack is easily staying together. Kind of roadblocked with the snowfall.
Yeah, pack staying relatively closely together. They are sort of at least using 3 lanes wide. We saw it was just literally 1 lane being used in Davos because of the amount of snow. So maybe done a slightly better job here of having some forerunners, we'll call them, so people that would go out and ski in front just to clear the tracks a little bit. And there still will be slower because there is snow falling, but possibly a little bit better cleared than we saw a couple of days ago. But yes, certainly as we come into this this longer climb here, I think we'll start to get a feel for how the skis are running. Have people got that kick wax right? So do they have the grip to get up the hills here without slipping too much? And
that's the important factor when you've got 21% climb and 12, 15, 18% climbs along this journey. So coming up towards the 1.4, the pack absolutely together, being held back, if you like, by the snowfall. The athletes at the front can't break free because the tracks are much slower at the front before they've been pressed down. Niskanen just having a little slip there. That is a deceptive little climb.
I don't think it always quite does it justice, does it, the camera angle, just to really understand the steepness of the hills these athletes are going up.
Hagstrom, difficulty with the skis there. So very much together, but early days in this race. 5 minutes underway in Val Di Fiemme. Let's have a look at the glide factor. You can see how some of Linn Svan skis are looking pretty good in the middle of the pack there. So Swedish skis gliding well. That's Carlson as well, bib number 7, looking good. So they've definitely got the glide factor right for Sweden in the white and blue suits. It's that Jessie Diggins at the front. Maybe she wants... This is the fastest part of the course. You turn sharply to the right here, and look how much you fall down, all the way down to the bottom on the right side, and normally some 55, 60 kilometres even descent speed. Today, I would imagine much less.
Absolutely, and you do want to stay a little bit out of trouble here, so although you won't get the drafting effect for this hill, the speeds that they get up to, sometimes it's sensible just to be out in front so you can choose your own line and stay out of trouble here, because I don't think today's going to be the fastest day with the snow that's falling, but at high speed this hill can be really challenging to get around in a pack.
It can, and I think very clever from Jessie Diggins there. She wanted to own her own space there in case an athlete ahead fell down. We have seen many falls over the years on this curve, this bend here, so she had a very good tactical move, I think, going to the front at that stage.
Yeah, she did, but again, as I said earlier, I think not in her interest to stay in the front, so she should ease off, jump to the side and try and challenge someone else to come through there.
Laukli attacking up this is the Zorzi uphill, as it's called. I thought we might be around 7:30 through the halfway, but of course held back with the heavy snowfall. And of course the athletes, this is the first time around of 6 today, 15 kilometres in total. Victoria Carl dancing her way up this climb, and then another fast descent. So very much that roller coaster as we discussed earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone seems to have skis which are going okay here. I haven't seen there's a couple just at the back there having to step out of the tracks and not fully herringbone, but just get the skis a little bit wider to get some grip, but no sort of out and out disasters like we've seen in another couple of stages. So that's good news for the skiers, and it does make it a more even and a more fair race.
It's difficult, isn't it, to see that so many, 33 athletes, maybe 2 at the back, as you said, slipping slightly. So without a doubt, everything seems to be running similar. For me, the white suits have got a slightly better glide than many of those around them.
Yeah, which is good news. I think the Swedes have missed the skis a couple of days this season so far, so they'll be relieved that they're sort of back on form. I think it has caused a little bit of tension in that. It was a little bit of a stumble from Diggins there as she swapped lanes, but managed to recover, tuck in 3rd place.
Just getting revenge there, I think, because of course Hennig chopped her off on the uphill, so Jessie Diggins, not saying she chopped her off, but just jumped in front there. So coming up towards 8:40, and that's our first lap time. I'm sure it will improve as they progress. So there's the first of the Tour de Ski points going to Carlson. Diggins managing to pick up some of those precious points. So out happily or not onto lap 2. Carlson taking the initiative. There's Victoria Karl in 3rd place.
Yeah, Stadlober as well, just up at the front there. She's a name that she's still, she's doing okay in the overall. She's ranked in 14th, but she does definitely have the possibility of a good day today. She might be thinking about a good stage win rather than the overall, I think. So again, this 15k classic will really suit her.
Yeah, she was 10th in Tobruk. I actually expected more.
Just a replay, I think, of this slight stumble from Diggins as she goes across there, but
cheeky move.
Cheeky, and again the snow outside of the tracks will be a little bit slower because of this snow falling, so that does just cause the skis to stop.
It's always risky, isn't it, when there's been a heavy snowfall leading into a race where the tracks are pressed down, they have been skied upon, and then that little bank or that little rise in between the prepared tracks can really change the feeling, and it can put you over the front of your skis. Jessie Diggins a little lucky there.
Yeah, absolutely. So pace, Mike, feels relatively comfortable for me. The whole pack are still together after that first 2.5k loop.
So 11.72 kilometres to go, very early days, and Carlson definitely beginning to make this field suffer a little. A definite turn of pace. And the first lap generally just feeling comfortable. The only big surprise for me, Posey, just looking further back, is Palmer Koski. We heard her interview at the start of the race. She seemed very, very relaxed, but it's still out testing her skis at that point.
Yeah, she certainly said that we could see she's standing with 2 different skis there, wasn't she? So you could see part of the routine the athletes go. Hopefully she's not skied on those, but yeah. It's interesting to see those routines the athletes go through to test the skis, and trying out 2 different ones together, seeing which has the better feel, not just for the kick but also the glide. And part of it is just a bit of feeling, what makes you feel more confident and more comfortable.
And 3 hours prior to that, 4 hours prior to that, the technicians have been out and skiing around, so they will have whittled down, say, 4 or 5 pairs and say, okay, there's 4 options for you, different options in each ski. Have a feel, come back and tell me how which one feels best for you. They've already made their assessments, the technicians. So a long and laborious process, and a tiring, stressful process.
Yeah, huge amount of work that the wax technicians put in, and particularly in mornings like this when the conditions are so changeable and so challenging. It's not an easy job at the best of times, but with these temperatures, 2 degrees, snow turning into sleet, turning into rain, the slow tracks, God, that's just the hardest of all. I feel for them today.
Now, as we're on this gentle climb, if you're new to cross-country skiing, and if you're new to this thing called the Tour de Ski, well, of course, it's based on one other big tour, or in the early days, that was it. A lot more travelling in the early days. Now it's been reduced in terms of travel time. 3 different locations. And 1 week ago, the sprint started the Tour de Ski. The next day, it was a 10-kilometre classic. as an interval start, so individually out there against the clock. And day 3 straight days, day 3 was a 20-kilometre pursuit in the freestyle. Then a day off, which was travelling to Davos. Firstly the sprints, and then we saw horrific conditions over 20 kilometre in classic style, the same as today. One further day off, Posey, and here we are, day 6 of racing, and it's another big distance race, 15 kilometres, and again classic style.
Yeah, it's certainly been quite a lot of distance in it, with 2 20-kilometre races, which I think were both maybe slightly over 20. I think one was supposed to be 25 that was about 23, and one was 20 that ended up at 22. So
we'll figure that one.
Yeah, well, we've had certainly a lot of mileage under the belts of all of these athletes now, and again, we're still at some decent altitude here, a little bit lower than Davos, but still at 1,300-ish metres. And so again, if these are the kind of places where if you push too hard too early, it's very hard to recover. So that altitude is another factor in the racing today.
It certainly is, and the 2 sprints, incredibly, the 2 sprints, both in freestyle. The same man won both races, Shanava, and he starts later, starts bib 60, I think it is, in the men's race later. And of course, Lynn Svan in the women's field. She took both victories in terms of sprinting.
Yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant to see Lynn Svan. We'll see if we can spot her as these athletes come down this hill here. But it's so brilliant to see her back on form again after 2 full years out with injury.
Well, there's the virtual standings. Not much change there when we consider the standing started at 44 seconds separating Diggins and Niskanen. So a slight improvement there, but as you can see, they're all still very much together. And just going back to this 7 days of racing over 9 days, all these athletes in the field, bar 1 or 2, Samantha Smith in terms of World Championships, they've all experienced World Championships and Olympic Games where you can race up to 6 times, possibly 7 for 1 or 2, over a 17-day period. Mm-hmm. You're in your own bed all of that time. You know your routines. You know when you're getting the transport up to the stadium. Very much different in the Tour de Ski. It's edgy. It's difficult. I think the waxing technicians have had an awful job this time. The conditions have always been difficult, and that puts stress to the athletes as well.
It does, and I think as well with the World Champs and the Olympics, you're racing on the same course every day, so it's really important to know the course and think about how you're going to approach that tactically, what suits you, all that kind of thing. For here, I think a lot of the athletes, particularly the more experienced ones, will know a lot of these tracks quite well. Val Di Fiemme has been in the Tour de Ski every year since the start, but for the new athletes, they're learning new courses, and even for the older ones, we've had a different course in Davos a couple of days ago. They're not getting a lot of chance to refresh their memory, so that's tricky as well, because it's hard to work through your tactics if you haven't had much chance to ski the course.
It's unsettling and nerve-wracking for the athletes, and that creates a lot more fatigue, mentally fatigue, as we climb back up the Zorzi climb, and this is what they'll be doing for the final time on the 6th lap. We're only on the 2nd lap at the moment. Have a look at the speed here. So you can put a lot of effort into the Zorzi uphill because you've got this very long descent, some 18 to 24 seconds recovery in terms of your breathing. Not too technical, mostly sticking in the tracks there and then tucking low. But there is quite a variation there, as you can see, in terms of the ski speeds coming down. Drafting is an issue. Looks like Stadlober on the right side in red. It is from Austria.
Yeah, still packed together, but it's starting to get to this point where I think we'll see cracks showing fairly soon. So although pretty much everyone's together, it's more strung out. You can see it's not kind of three lanes wide with everyone right on each other's tail. It's just a little bit of gaps, and I think that Carlson and Carl here at the front are putting in a little bit of pace. So again, largely together, but I think as we get into this 3rd lap, things will start to heat up a little bit more.
I think it will, and I really do think it will. And only one detached way back further down the line. It's a Swedish suit. I think it could be Hagström.
Yeah, Hagström. Again, that is one of the more pure sprinters who's left in the Tour. So fair play for her to sticking it out right to the end. It's not an easy ask for a sprinter to be doing a 20 kilometre, a 15 kilometre and a hill climb, but she's in it to the end, I think.
She certainly is. Well, Carlson, Hennig, Stadlober, Sundling and Svan at the moment at the front, but very much together in Val Di Fiemme. So again, after a climb where there's a little bit of flats, some athletes will be taking on drink stops if they can after, say, 20 minutes. I see there's some coaches trackside opposite. You'll be getting to hand out some drinks. That's Jessie Diggins opting at 20 minutes. I think at 3 degrees warm air temperature, that's a good plan.
Yeah, and again, just thinking about this build-up of fatigue over the days of racing, and thinking about being on good form for tomorrow. Just got to keep the energy levels up, so you're not depleting yourself too much before tomorrow's race as well.
And we will discuss tomorrow's brutal race as this race progresses. Still single file for most part, then 2 files of athletes further back. Look at the separation now. There's athletes being left behind.
Yeah, just looking, that's on the right, we can see it's pretty much single file. Then we've got Brennan out on the right there, bib number 13. So making her life hard. She's far back, but I don't know if she's here because she was trying to get up a few further places. But if you're skiing in your own lane, you're not getting the impact of that drafting effect.
Some concerns for, look how fast those Swedish skis are. I think you're right. We mentioned earlier that throughout this racing season, the Swedes have had some difficulty getting the right, even in freestyle, getting the correct. At -18 up in Gällivare, I think they struggled. We've seen some bad days, but today I think we're seeing an exceptional day in terms of the Swedish preparation.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on them to get it right, I think, once you've had a couple of bad days. That's Brennan again, just on the left of the screen there, out of the tracks quite a lot earlier than someone else.
Jessie Diggins slipping as well there, Posey, without a doubt.
Yeah, managing to stay in the tracks, keeping her skis in those grooves, but certainly looking like she's having to battle to do that. So not the easiest of skis, and having to fight against it a little bit.
And I think that you mentioned Jessie Diggins' improvement, that she's always been good both disciplines, but less effective classic. She's come into this new racing season much more relaxed, so she's more efficient now in terms of her technique in classic.
Yeah, she's improving. If I was being picky, I'd say she's got a bit of work to do, but I think she'd probably say, well, I've been on the podium plenty of times, so I'm not doing too badly. I think the big thing that we see with Diggins in classic still is the conditions have a big impact. So if it's cold and hard snow like we saw earlier in the season, she's okay with that. As soon as it gets a little bit softer, and she said herself, these challenging conditions, her classic, the wheels used to come off, she'd panic and get very frantic. She's improved, but compared to some of these really, beautiful classic skiers like Niskanen, she's not quite at that standard yet. But what she lacks in technique, she makes up with grit, the ability to work hard, push it out until the finish.
Absolutely, she is. She's like the Terminator. She keeps coming back. When I saw that fall in Davos, it didn't look like much, but she took an absolute slam dunk onto the road that it was that she was crossing. She was winded. Ego was slightly damaged as well, but slowly she dusted herself down and pushed her way back and of course finished third. That's quite incredible. 2 third positions classic style in this Tour de Ski.
Yeah, she's absolutely, without a doubt, improved her classic, and I think that was pretty unbelievable to see her in third. She looked like she was completely out of it at the halfway point and able to, just those tough conditions, as I say, not technically the best for her, but I think everyone was struggling mentally so much with that, she was able to overcome it.
Lynn Svan, composed, determined, and alongside her, many of her teammates as well at this particular part of the course.
Yeah, the Swedes certainly look like they're trying to control the race up front at the moment. We've got Svan, Carlson, Sundling all near the front, sort of just sitting there comfortably and just still keeping it relatively in control at this point in time.
And a great chance to see the different variations of glide. 2 terrible sets of skis there. Of course, they've stepped out into the tracks, which haven't much been skied on so far. Third time around this track, third of 6, so the race is unfolding and taking its shape. You can see the athletes way further back, some still coming down top left of our screen, so a number having now been left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can see, as I say, it's still largely together at this point in time. Oh, there's a little bit of a fall at the back. I missed who that was, but I think possibly that. Just on a flat section, you wouldn't expect it, but again, showing that snow is maybe just impacting people.
Victoria Carl, this is the speed ice there. In the past, historically, we've been up to 55, close to 60 kilometres an hour down here. The slower conditions, given the snowfall, anchoring the skis more today. So Victoria Carl buying herself the safety of selecting her own race line and coming out with momentum. And tucked in there closely behind, it's Carlson. For me, Carlson has got the desire today, maybe the focus, that steely focus when she wants to win. She's in a different mindset, a different space.
Yeah, absolutely. Another couple of big names starting to appear at the front. That's Hennig over on the far side of the screen, just to the left now, trying to come in front of Carlson. Karl up there again, so the Germans showing their dominance, and Heidi Weng I think is tucked in there. So again, one we've talked about for that overall, and sort of pushing very slightly. These standings haven't changed too much, the virtual tour standings you can see, but she is creeping and just getting a few seconds back.
Do you know, Heidi Weng, you mentioned her there, she's booked 6 incredible historical performance here. She's had 12 podiums and 5 of them were victories here in Val Di Fiemme in the Tour de Ski. So and that's got to make a difference when you've got those positive memories. That has to make you feel. I know she hasn't quite been on the form where she won the Tour de Ski on a couple of occasions, but she's still there or thereabouts.
She absolutely is, and I think that's the same with Hennig I mentioned as well, that she had her first ever victory here last year. So again, what brilliant memories. And Hennig's not also been another one, not quite on her best form this year, a bit of illness early in the season, but you know, good, interesting to see some of those people have this chance today.
And I'm just looking at, I know we're coming up to half distance, but when they turn left for the final lap, look how much they clam together there over this rise. But they'll be on the right side there coming into the finish, but it's going to be roadblocked with all the snowfall for almost an hour by the time they come into the finish. So not an advantage to be at the front, and they'll all be figuring that out as the laps unfold.
Yeah, so again, still quite a good big pack up together. That's a great angle, that overhead shot, isn't it, to see it? But still quite a few together there, but certainly we're starting to lose a few more off the back.
Jessie Diggins going wide. Can she slot in easily? It's not easy when there's all one line of athletes in and out of each bend.
Bergan at the back, and Brennan just looking like she's hanging in there. Certainly I thought she might be another one with a good day today, but maybe just expended so much energy in Davos 2 days ago. So
the winner from last year in this event, her only ever victory, and deciding now to begin to lift the pace at half distance. So 7.1 almost kilometres. Look at the weather, not an advantage out front, and that is why the group is sticking together. The ones at the front, the athletes at the front, roadblocked with this snowfall. Rosie Brennan on the left side, not having a great day. That grimace that we often see from her, she's absolutely struggling right now. Well, they all are.
Yeah, Iduka as well at the back of that group, just looking like she's struggling to stay on, and there's definitely a gap being opened. That first group now, we're starting to get away. The top sort of 8-9 skiers, just seeing some daylight between them and the second pack. So the pace as we get into the second half of the race is increasing a little bit. And
yes, we've just got to go along this flat bit, down the descent to the right, and then those pressures on the left side up the, I think it's called the Valena, no, the Poya uphill coming up shortly. Well, Jessie Diggins is there in that front 9. Parmakoski bridging the gap. That's Brennan trying so hard to come through.
And this is what I was saying, Mike, it's so important to have good positioning, even if there's a big group together, because if the pace increases and you're too far back, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss your chance, and then either you're stuck or you have to expend so much energy to get back into the front group.
Carlson desperate at 47 kilometres an hour, desperate to pick up. Where's Jessie Diggins? Well, this is Brennan, so Jessie Diggins is slightly further ahead at this particular time.
Yes, there's a big gap in front of Brennan here. This is danger territory for her. She's got to work hard if she wants to bridge the gap again.
This is going to be an all-out sprint. Where's Sundling? Sundling might think this is for her. Carlson on the left side really attacking. Jessie Diggins struggling with the wax there, spreading the skis wide.
Yes, Svan as well struggled a little bit. Carlson skied that hill absolutely beautifully, much nicer than anyone else, able to stay in the tracks the whole way up.
A huge turn of pace here, up to 30 minutes. That's the attraction of these bonus seconds. Carlson going to get all 15, and it's all about Sweden at the front at the moment. Jessie Diggins will contain some of those bonus seconds. So Carlson 15, Sundling 12, Svan 10. That's vital. Jessie's picked up 6, so trying to subdue that Swedish gain there.
Yeah, damage limitation, I think is what I would call that. Weng, I thought, might have been a little bit further up there, managing to nab 2 seconds. That would have been helpful for Weng to get another sort of 10 seconds or so there. So not able to get the time, only the top 10 getting any bonus times at all. And she's sneaked in with 2 seconds.
Now, as anyone knows, if you're out training or running or doing intervals and you try to do a 1 minute, when you're already fatigued, 1 minute 30 of real absolute maximum to try and pick up those bonus points. Well, look at the changing shape here. It's Sundling now second place, Carlson in third place. Niskanen still 46 behind. She was 43 at the end of the day, but dropping a number of places.
Just noticed there Niskanen as well, just hopping out to the right-hand track, so getting out of the train of skiers there, obviously just wanting to make a little bit of ground up and get back near the front of that pack again. The other thing, Mike, with the bonus seconds is, for someone like Carlson, really important to get that time if you think of the overall. There's a risk to it, though. If you go too hard, you sprint halfway through, do you do yourself too much damage to actually maintain that pace for the rest of the race? So always a bit of a sort of balancing act.
It is a fine balance, isn't it? And I think, luckily, the snow is still falling, because I think Carlson may have felt, well, I can break free now. Very difficult to break free today, and Jessie Diggins still there with his front 9, slight gap there back to Parmakoski from Finland. And I think Parmakoski might be playing the clever game. I think she has struggled with the conditions so far, but she's slowly coming back into this front section.
Yeah, I think if you're not feeling sort of 100% form, it's too dangerous just to try and sprint and bridge that gap. She would have been conscious of that gap opening up. Same with Brennan there. I said she has to make it, but you don't want to sprint. You got to do it steadily. Just keep the pace a little bit increased and work your way back up to that group. But certainly cracks starting to show. A couple of people really struggling with the pace. That's fussness there, just not able to handle the pace anymore.
An athlete who always impresses me, Patricia Aiduka from Latvia. I don't think she's got the best grip and glide, but she's still there. I think she's in 14th position at the moment. Niskanen, the big names are there. There's Stadlober in red. Ahead of her, that's Lynn Svan. There's Jessie Diggins. And in front of Jessie, it's Heidi Weng. The big names are up the front, except for Parmakoski. In fact, Parmakoski has bridged that gap to safety.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see picture just sort of jumping a little bit there, but Brennan as well. So that group has come back together a little bit there. So we had 9, and now we're back up to about 20 again. But still danger for those ones at the back. Again, if Carlson chooses to increase the pace again, they're going to have to be, just doing that work to stay with them, because when you're in that one long line, it's so easy to lose time.
Let's have a look at the speed down this descent. I think it was 44 last time, so 43 at best this time. Well, we're over 44.3 at best there. That's Frida Carlson that we're monitoring. All the athletes have got a transponder high up in their race suit at the back, just on the shoulders, to give us those speeds and times. Good to see up this hill, up the Zorzi uphill as it's called. Plenty spectators trackside. You can hear that. That's a nice little change in your pain to hear some support. Even if it's for somebody else, take it. Feed off it.
Yeah, I think just enjoy the energy and the sound. I think that's always a good motivator, isn't it? And I love those cowbells you get in the Alps as well. That's nothing like hearing that to get you up a hill.
Fascinated me first time I raced in Italy to hear all the spectators shouting, "Die, die." Yeah. And I thought, why are they telling me to die? I hadn't a clue. Then I did guess it was a form of encouragement. Go, go, go. Victoria Carl for me, Posey. She's played a clever race. She hasn't done much lead work. Occasionally, she's led the descent last time around, but she's always been in second or third. The same with Hennig. I think they have a cunning plan.
I think you could be right there, Mike. They're certainly looking pretty good to me. That's 11. We just saw Emma Rebohm just about managing to hang on with that pace there, but certainly Carlson's been doing a lot of the grunt work up front. Actually seen a little bit more Svan than I'd have expected right at the front as well.
Yes, she's restless. For me, the steely look of Frida Carlson, she's desperate today to make a big impression.
Oh, it's so tough in these conditions. I think Carlson, as we said at the start, she knows that if she wants to have any chance of winning the whole Tour de Ski, she's got to make up a little bit of ground today. But she needs help to do that, and I'm not sure she's going to get the help that she really wants. I can see her looking around there, just trying to get a feel for what's happening.
She's shouting over to Sundling, trying to communicate, maybe saying, "Come on, I need help." Sundling's throwing the glasses off. It's awkward conditions. Yes, your eyeballs will hurt at the end of this, and at speeds of 45, you really do feel this wet snow in your eyeballs. But most of the athletes not wanting the condensation, the bad visibility. You need absolute clarity.
Yeah, so Hennig taking the lead now for a little bit. Interesting to see if she is willing to put in a bit of work. She'll want to see this stretch out a little bit as well.
This is I'm loving this race. It's again the weather conditions. I haven't this is the 18th Tour de Ski, and I cannot remember 2 days from the 7 of racing where the weather has played such a huge part. This is anchoring any potential breakaway. It's keeping the pack together.
It absolutely is. It's not an easy day for anyone out there, and it's so difficult to decide, do you push hard and risk doing all the work or stay in the pack?
So 4 laps of 2.5 kilometers completed, 2 laps to go. Restless at the front, big names here beginning to look around them and see that there are too many athletes going to pick up too many points. So the pace picking up. Lauchley, bib 19. Sophia Lauchley, she's certainly brilliant on the final climb day, that's for sure. And I think maybe time to talk about the final climb tomorrow. So 15 kilometers of punishment today, Posey, and then tomorrow talk us briefly through the brutal finale as we've had for all of the 17 previous years in this Tour de Ski.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, there's only 10 kilometres, so very straightforward, apart from the fact that they have to go up an alpine ski slope at the end of that. So we've got this sort of almost little warm-up that they do as they head out of the stadium here in Val Di Fiemme, and they get a nice little ride along the valley floor, and then suddenly they hit the climb and it is just up. And I think what's really tricky is the first bit, the gradient isn't the steepest, so you'll see people push the pace really hard, and suddenly halfway you get these sections of sort of 28-29% gradient, and that's when it all just comes to a halt, and you can see people doing the types of techniques we don't normally see on World Cup, teddy bearing, we call it around the corners, and one single sticking one pole at a time. And the thing that is so crucial is the pacing. I think it's one of the few races where you just have to not worry too much about what's going on ahead of you, because we've seen so many times that people can and do just completely lose it halfway up.
I like the way you kind of played all of that down. The final 3.6 kilometres, a total climb in those final 3.6 is a total of 420 metres climb. They all know what's coming. Their legs have been tenderised on the journey, and it's about survival. Just quickly again, while we're on the second last lap, the big names for tomorrow in terms of it's very specialised. It's a very specialised event. There is no event like it in cross-country skiing. But for me, a lot of the big names are all around that same possibility in terms of the hill climbing. They're all much together, the 5 big names.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is absolutely brutal. There's no two ways about it. It's not like anything else, and it's so tough. I think there's usually a couple of kind of standout skiers who do really well on that we might not see battle for the overall. So Claudel is one, and Lauchley another one who's done brilliantly at that, but they won't make up enough time to be challenging for the overall victory.
And there is Lauchley now alongside Jessie Diggins, who I wonder if Jessie is beginning to have some doubt. Normally she'd be up at the front if she could be, or is she just having a more relaxed journey back there? I don't think so, because we see her often dropping back a little.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see if she just try and push forward a bit. I just think she needs to do damage control here. She doesn't want to put in too much energy. Thinking about that overall, thinking about the fact she has a 44-second cushion, which is pretty good. And then, as you say, after that, in the top 5, we've got Niskanen, Sundling maybe a bit unknown as well, and Svan down in 7th. Those for me are the 2 unknowns, but Niskanen, Beng, Carlson, those are all solid and consistent hill climbers, so they will know that they should be able to keep their position or improve a little bit.
Yeah, very interesting. Jessie Diggins, she's certainly a good climber, maybe not setting the best time tomorrow, but she won't be far off in terms of time, and she will have thought all those scenarios through. Who could take massive time off me in the big names? Well, certainly Carlson is a great climber when it comes to the final day, although she didn't even make the podium last year when she won. The effort she put in last year, and in fact we didn't see her for another 3 weeks.
No, she pushed herself to the limit and beyond, it's fair to say, and I think actually it did show, can't take anything away from her. She won the Tour de Ski, she came out on top, but she pushed so hard on the first half of that climb that she was looking in serious trouble by the top. It was almost a miracle she made it across the line. Head was going, she was totally out of it.
Some concerns for me today. We've said it so many times. This amount of snowfall, the track's much slower up front with 8.5 minutes of snowfall since she last came round. And Carlson, she did have a conversation with Sundling, give me some help up front. Let's do a bit of lead share. I think she had a little conversation with Svan as well earlier, but maybe they just don't have the energy to get up there and assist her.
Yeah, she's doing the huge amount of the grunt work today, and as I say, it'll be so frustrating for her because I think she knows she doesn't want to be doing all that work. She wants to get a bit of help, but also she knows that this is her one opportunity to gain some time back before tomorrow, and she's one of the people whose interested is to break the pack up a little bit, to see some gaps opening up, and to try and make some time up on some of those other overall contenders. So it's a really difficult position to be in.
It certainly is. Jessie Diggins still in there. Brennan thankfully has made it back into this long train at the front, so no real major separation. The big names in the Tour de Ski are all in this front section of the race. The two Germans, Hennig there in second position, Karl in third. Hennig took her first victory in this race last year, her first and only victory in terms of World Cup racing. Heidi Weng still there. Mentioned earlier, she's had 12 podiums at this venue, 5 of them were victories. She may still have a flicker of hope. Aiduka just almost running her way up this climb. So exciting times as they begin to make their way back down into the stadium. There's still a very fast descent with a left-hander at the bottom. And once again, it's Carlson at the front. Is she not going to move back and get some rest before the final lap?
No, it doesn't appear to have any interest in, as you said, when she came through the stadium, she was looking back. She obviously wanted people to help her out a little bit, but I think she's decided even if she doesn't get that help, she needs to push the pace. So again, gaps are opening up, but we've seen that happen a few times, that gaps will open up on some sections and then they come back together again. So now they're coming to this fast downhill and then the Zorzi uphill. So if they can maintain the gap here and through the stadium is where it tends to come back together, then we might start to see these gaps sticking for that final lap, and the pace is going to be hard. The pace is going to be hard. I'm beginning to get a slight concern for Jessie Diggins. Where is she? I think that was her, just past there. Brennan as well, definitely struggling today. She's always been towards the back and she's managed to work up a couple of times, but I think if this pace stays higher, she won't make it back this time. Carlson, we've seen it many times. We saw it in the very second race of this racing season, where the third race, the 20 kilometre in freestyle, Carlson and Anderson did a lot of the lead work on that particular day. It didn't help the finish sprint, that's for sure. The final attack to the line. So for the second last time, we're up the Zorzi uphill section where the spectators are alongside on their right hand side. And the next time, this is serious. The next time they come up here in 2.5 kilometres time, it will be for the finish line, and trying to select the best line into the finish will be difficult. So still at the front is Carlson. Hennig, who won here last year in second place. Victoria Karl, who's had one victory in her career, and that was recently. She's had 2 further podiums. What a season she's had. And there's Jessie Diggins alongside, or just a little behind Heidi Weng. Oh, that wax doesn't seem a little bit like Davos. It seemed to be balling up or icing up for Jessie Diggins. Yeah, I think they're pretty similar to everyone else's. I don't want to just blame it all on the skis. I think there's just a lot of tired legs after all the work she's put in. I think it is tricky, but it is tricky for everyone in these conditions. And I do think that we will see, this is where we saw on the last lap, Carlson maybe felt like she got a bit of gap, but as they come to this little bump before they go into the stadium, look at the way everyone just comes together. Look at it. Well, and then that's Carlson at the front saying, come on, I need assistance. Someone else take some lead time. Coming up to the final lap, Carlson frustrated at the front, but it's her choice. She's been up there for a very long time in this race, and you can see, so that's a real indicator the next time down is to the finish line. Yes, they won't ball up as quickly as that because the athlete in front position will be attacking for the finish line. Yeah, but I think if you're thinking tactics for the win, it's not an advantage to be at the front. As you come down that hill, you want to be in second or third position and get the slipstream. Totally. But if you're just thinking, I want to make this race hard, you've just got to be up there and not worry about it too much. So Jessie Diggins moving forward again. That's a healthy scenario for her. Delphine Claudel, the French athlete, bib 16, having a fabulous day. She'll have a great day tomorrow as well. She's a fantastic climber. Yeah, it's a good day for her in classic to be. Again, there's Claudel's there and Lautley's there, and they're two people who have a really big discrepancy between their skate and classic skiing. So if they're up in this group today in Classic, that suggests to me that the pace hasn't been too hot because these top skiers haven't been able to get away with this snow and these conditions.
What a race. Difficult to get away today if an athlete was feeling strong. Niskanen has had a warning, a verbal warning, then it goes to yellow card. So a verbal warning for obstruction. I didn't see it, but she's a bit edgy there as well. I didn't see it earlier where she picked up that verbal warning. Jessie Diggins there wearing yellow.
Yeah, I think those skis are going okay. I think we haven't seen any, as we said at the start. It looks like the skis are pretty even for most people out there. As you say, I think the Swedes do have some good skis, but people still managing to get up these hills. No sort of total disasters of people having to get out and run right from the bottom.
No major. I think the factor and the important factor coming up is the glide. And I'm sure we'll see a break soon, an attempt to break away soon. Not a bad idea to break early because of the anchoring and almost an hour of snow falling during this race.
No, absolutely brutal out there. Hennig and Karl again just sitting in second place the whole time. I did think we might see a little bit more of Niskanen up the front today because she showed in the other classic races this season she's been willing to put herself out there and get out in front because she thinks that's how she can potentially win the races, but possibly just a little bit tired after her efforts 2 days ago.
I think so. Svan looking cool, Sundling looking cool. There's Niskanen, Stadlober, Heidi Weng. Behind Heidi Weng is Jessie Diggins, Parmakoski's there, Claudel's there. Actually, all the big names at the top of the Tour de Ski: Diggins, Niskanen, Sundling, Weng, Carlsen. Well, Slin's not here. Svan, Victoria Karl, Parmakoski, Brennan. They're all top 10 in the Tour de Ski, and they're all in this front section of the race.
Yeah, Mike, just one thing to note while we've got a second here as the athletes take their drink is that we have seen a DNF from Johanna Hagström, who was bib 9. So again, she was one of the more pure sprinters who was still up there, but I had expected that given her starting today, she would be intending to go all the way through. So although definitely not her strongest race, I'm a little surprised to see her cut it short at this point in time. Yeah,
and she was actually ranked 38, or she is ranked 38th in the Tour de Ski at the start of today, if I'm correct. Yes, she is.
Yeah, she was a good bit back. I think she struggled in some of those distance races, but I sort of thought she was in it to the end, but clearly not to be, and choosing to step out and rest up.
Yeah, more a sprinter, and these conditions will test the toughness of anybody. And Parmakoski is one of those very tough athletes. She always comes good when it comes to absolute majors, World Championships, Olympic Games.
Oh, she's brilliant, isn't she? She knows how to perform when it counts. Oh, there's Carlsen now. We're seeing, as I said, just looking at those skis, is struggling there. But again, that's also the fatigue at the end of the day having a factor as much as everything. But she is looking good. But she has done so much work today. I think if Hennig and Karl can stick with her, I think they're going to find their way to the front in these last couple of 100 metres. Carlsen's put so much work in.
She has. I love the very much upright position when Carlsen is giving her classic style. Lynn Svan for me now is a major threat when it comes to the punch to the line. I thought we might see a break occurring. Here's Jessie Diggins. Just in Jessie Diggins' mindset, if she was feeling a little better, she would be up in third or fourth place. So all the while, but we saw in Davos that she only came through in the last kilometre. Well, we're just over a kilometre to go here in Val Di Fiemme. Well, the final stages, the big names are all in this group. The top 10 from the Tour de Ski are here, so there's no major separation in terms of time. And what have we got there? Jessie Diggins, you can see the fluctuation. She was 6.5 behind, now 5.5, down to nearly 10 seconds. So she's surviving in this lead pack. Parmakoski behind her.
Yeah, we can see how much this course profile is playing out. So the slightly weaker athletes of today, not overall obviously, but the slightly weaker athletes are just dropping off the pack on the harder hills, and then again with that fast downhill to the stadium and the little bump, it's all coming back together again. So playing into the hands of those not feeling as good today, I think.
And I think at the moment Jessie looks like it's still 39 to 41 seconds advantage over second place in the overall tour. And in back of Jessie Diggins' mind, she knows that as long as she's got, say, 20 seconds going into the final day, she may well still feel that she can take the victory for the second time.
I think so, and she's putting a shift in here, and it's important to try and stay with this group. what I don't think she needs to do is try and get the win today. Just the amount of effort it'll take to push the last kilometre as fast as possible, it's just not worth the risk of the energy expenditure. I think she's got to be smart. She's got to try and stay with the pack, do damage limitation, but just focus on tomorrow and leaving energy to get up that absolutely brutal hill.
Just over a kilometre to go here. Posey, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who can possibly push through with the right strategy? I think Carlson is really diminishing her chances the longer she stays up front.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Germans are looking good to me, Hennig and Karl. But as you say, Lynn Svan, she has just been sitting there the whole time. We know what a brilliant sprinter she is, but we know as well she can come through in mass start distance races as well. So, and she's just said these sprints she's won in a really dominating fashion. I think Svan for me is the danger woman.
That's the bib, and the way she's run this race, she's been economical. She hasn't wasted any energy. She has done very little lead time. We've got Sundling as well there, bib 4, the ultimate sprinter. I say the ultimate, she hasn't been beating Svan lately, but she is very much up there when it comes to this final charge. 51 minutes on the clock and coming down the fastest of descents here before the vital Zorzi uphill.
Yeah, it's going to be all out in this uphill, I think. Although we've seen how the group will come together, you want to try and get yourself a gap here. So for someone like Carlson, the way that she can win this is to push the pace, see if they can splinter this group even more. It's going to be all out sprint this last time.
Jessie Diggins reducing her chances of a podium here. She has it to third places in both classic disciplines so far in this Tour de Ski. She really now needs to find some sprint. There's Heidi Vang coming wide on the right side. Svan at the front alongside Carlson, and I think Svan is going to absolutely fly up this Zorzi uphill section. Hennig is still there in third place. She won last year. She'll still be believing she can win this time. The pace has really picked up with Svan making a move.
Yeah, Stadlober is sneaking up on the outside as well. She's in the right-hand lane there in the red suit. She's not known as a sprinter either, but she's managing to stick with this pace. Carlson and Svan are setting right at the front. Hennig's in perfect position at the moment, just behind Carlson. But Svan, she knows how to win these sprint finishes. This is a dangerous position to be in, the glide and the drag factor on the downhill, but Svan is the perfect finisher.
Jonna Sundling's in there as well. Jessie Diggins, well done. She's got herself up into, 8th or 9th place. So is that Svan at the front? She's probably in second place. Can't quite see which Swedish suit that is. We've got Hennig in there, we know that. We've got Heidi Vang slightly further back. 3 Swedes up the front. Hennig there as well. Victoria Karl has been dropped. Look at the speed now when they're going off track into that unskied snow right now towards the finish line.
Yeah, over this hill is absolutely crucial, just keeping it. Carlson's absolutely played a blinder here. Fair credit to her with all the effort she's put in. Still in front as they come over that last little bump.
You just feel Lynn Svan there, the hunter. She's going to get I just feel that Svan is going to go left or right anytime soon. She's taking the advantage of Carlson cutting the track for her effectively. And there goes Svan. She's going to try and charge for the line now. She's the ultimate double polar to the finish. Carlson just dropping back into second. Oh, Lynn Svan. That is absolutely brilliant. Carlson holding on to second. Hennig, she won it last year, third this year. Sundling's there, so the Swedish flag's flying high, 3 in the top 4. And there's Jessie Diggins. Damage limitation, 5.7 behind. Oh, Brennan, well done, 12.5 behind. So the big names are up the front, and no real major shift in terms of time leading into tomorrow's final stage in the Tour de Ski. What a race.
Fast and furious at the end, but everyone's staying with that pace until the final 100 metres.